So the road, it's been a long road, and I've been part of the kind of MEF family, so to speak, for 4 or 5 years, and on the board for 4 years. And during that time, the experience has been invaluable on so many different levels. Meeting people, the network, the exposure, just the intensive kind of the deep dive into the mobile environment through MEF has been, for me, invaluable on so many different levels. But within it all, it was very clear that the EMEA, there was no A in the EMEA for me. There was no particular Africa component. And coming from Zimbabwe, living here my whole life, and 4th generation, I'm very passionate about the continent. How can we bring more value to MEF from an African perspective, and how can we bring more value to individuals who want to become part of MEF but are in Africa? And that was really kind of the journey, and it's been 4 years in the making, and we're here, and it's amazing. And it feels extraordinary to finally have MEF Africa, where we can start creating value for members and incorporating new members and having a Pan-African approach. So it's not just South Africa-centric, it's got elements of West Africa and East Africa, and what are the issues that are relevant to those regions, and how can we embrace those issues, and how do we bring value to those individuals in those territories. So it's exciting, it's amazing. It's true, Africa's time is now on so many different levels, from kind of countries looking at infrastructure through to economic changes through mining and intellectual capital, such as what's happening in Kenya with the IT sector. Nigeria's really starting to boom in quite a significant way. Africa's really, it's making a noise on a global level, on so many different levels, on so many different areas. And so mobile is just one component, but a very significant component, because it's a component that is ubiquitous. Mobile is the common thread throughout the African continent. It's something that we can all rely on, that everyone has. And so it's a perfect time, in my opinion, that MEF is here on the continent and looking to focus on the challenges and opportunities. And it's a exciting time, it's a creative time, and it's a time of new changes, or big changes. Well, in the steering committee, I think it was quite important to embrace everyone's viewing point, because there are a lot of players around the table, all with very different focuses, and obviously their objectives are varied, whether it be in commerce, content, handsets, operators. So in today's meeting, it was really important to hear everyone and to allow everyone to have a place to express what their concerns were. And what was quite surprising for me and great was there was a common thread, and that common thread is looking at how we can provide communication in terms of the mobile environment, but more specifically rights issues from a content perspective. And that's not to make it content specific, because within that within the rights environment, it spreads even deeper into what I believe is not necessarily uniquely African, but a very significant African trait, and that is we live on a continent of entrepreneurs. It's a continent that has to have entrepreneurs, because there are not enough corporates and traditional companies that have employment. So it's about small to medium enterprises and companies, and most of those are from the creative economy. And if they're wanting to embrace mobile, then there are all sorts of rights issues and issues that they have to be dealt with from a legislative perspective. And that was a very common thread that came through, which was very interesting. And the other one, which is very closely coupled with that, and that is education on the mobile environment, specifically around data. There's a perception that data is incredibly expensive, which it is in relative terms, but let's look at how expensive is data, because it's maybe cheaper than 10 SMSs, as someone stipulated today. So those two are very closely coupled, educating people around the mobile environment from a data perspective, and how do we engage with people from a rights perspective. So it feels like, it's amazing to have a steering committee that's helping to drive something that is of value to an African environment.